There's something deeply unsettling about the way addiction quietly finds its way into our lives. You rarely notice it immediately. It isn't always a needle or a glass in your hand. Sometimes it's scrolling Instagram for the ninth time in 60 seconds. Sometimes it's needing reassurance from a text just to feel steady. Sometimes it's watching one more episode, then another, then an entire season, until it feels routine. Until suddenly, it doesn't. You're no longer chasing pleasure, you're avoiding emptiness. And the most disturbing part is that most people don't even know where that emptiness began. And if you were to ask Swiss psychologist Carl Jung how addiction should be addressed, detox wouldn't be his starting point. He wouldn't even focus on the habit itself. He would ask about your inner world. Because Jung believed addiction wasn't the core issue, it was a sign. We live in a society drained of dopamine and addicted to constant stimulation. Our minds are always searching for relief, but they're stuck repeating the same cycle. Dopamine, the chemical linked to drive and reward, is being depleted not only by our behaviors, but by our lack of self-understanding. Jung described this as a separation from the self. Not your ego, not your profession or identity, yourself. The most authentic, integrated version of who you are. The part connected to meaning, creativity, and direction. From Jung's perspective, addiction is a spiritual hunger, a message from the unconscious. Not just a desire for relief, but for completeness. He once said that every addiction is destructive, whether the substance is alcohol, morphine, or even idealism. What he meant was this: the substance is never the real cause. The inner void is. And this is where many modern treatments fall short. We focus on stopping the behavior, but we fail to see the person. We fix the symptom while ignoring the fractured foundation beneath it. Jung believed true healing only occurs when we're willing to face the shadow aspects of ourselves we've pushed away. The parts we reject, fear, or judge, the parts asking to be acknowledged rather than silenced. And if that feels heavy, you're not alone. Because here's the reality. The shadow isn't evil, it's compressed energy. And ironically, it's where healing begins. And here's the powerful part. Stay with me. Jung didn't just leave behind ideas, he left a blueprint, a psychological and spiritual framework to reintegrate what's been lost. Tools that help us understand why dopamine disappeared in the first place and how to restore it naturally. Not by chasing pleasure, but by living in alignment with purpose. We're going to explore those tools, practical ones, spiritual ones, even ones you can begin using today. So stay with me until the end of this video, because what you'll discover isn't just how to work with addiction. It's how to finally hear the part of you that's been speaking through it. And before we go further, if you enjoy expanding your awareness and exploring life beneath the surface, subscribe to Fractal Wisdom so you don't miss this inward journey. So, if addiction is the signal and not the source, what's actually underneath it? Let's talk about dopamine. Not as a trendy buzzword, but as a messenger. Dopamine isn't just about pleasure. It's the force behind the small actions that make life feel alive. It fuels motivation, anticipation, and reward. The vibration of a notification, the first bite of something sweet. The comforting message that says, "I'm thinking of you." When dopamine levels drop, life feels dull, muted, uninspired. That's when cravings appear. But dopamine depletion doesn't begin with streaming platforms or fast food. It usually starts much earlier. It begins with emotional suppression, environments where authenticity came at a cost. Maybe you had to be the good one, the strong one, the responsible one. You learned to ignore your needs to survive, and in doing so, you disconnected from yourself. Jung called this psychic fragmentation, burying the parts of you that weren't accepted and replacing them with a mask. And what does the mind do when that disconnection becomes chronic? It looks for relief. Some seek it in alcohol, others in relationships, screens, or validation. But it's never really about the object. It's about the feeling they're trying to recreate, a sense of meaning, worth, or wholeness, even if only for a moment. So now, we're not trapped in addiction. We're trapped in a loop. Inner emptiness leads to dopamine spikes. Dopamine crashes, escape, compulsion, shame, then emptiness again. Jung understood that breaking this loop isn't about willpower, it's about integration. He once wrote that enlightenment doesn't come from imagining light, but from bringing darkness into awareness. That means turning toward pain instead of avoiding it. Asking, what is this addiction trying to numb? What part of me did I abandon to cope? This is where Jung's approach sharply differs from traditional models. He didn't just want sobriety, he wanted wholeness. And wholeness begins with awareness, seeing patterns not as personal failures, but as messages, signals from your unconscious pointing you back to yourself. That's why Jung valued dreams, symbols, and archetypes. They were communications from the forgotten parts of us. The child, the rebel, the healer, the wounded one, all still alive within you. And until we make space for them, we'll keep trying to feel complete through things that were never meant to complete us. But here's the good news. The moment you stop seeing addiction as a flaw and start seeing it as information, healing begins. Addiction isn't your identity. It's a survival strategy your psyche created to protect you from pain you never had the chance to process. And now, you're ready, curious, and that's enough. So, let's explore 3 tools: practical, spiritual, and deeply nourishing. These tools don't fight addiction. They listen to it, shadow work. One of Jung's most transformative ideas was the shadow, the hidden part of the psyche, where we store what we've rejected or denied about ourselves: anger, grief, envy, fear, even the desire to feel powerful, loved, or seen. These parts don't disappear. They retreat underground, and they express themselves through addiction, projection, and repeating patterns. Shadow work is the process of bringing the unconscious into awareness. Sitting with yourself and asking, what part of me did I exile because I believed it wasn't acceptable? What truth am I avoiding that I actually need to face? You can begin shadow work through journaling. Ask yourself, if my addiction could speak, what would it tell me? Write without editing. Let it speak freely. You may be surprised by what emerges. Tool 2, breath work. Jung never formally taught breath work, but if he were alive today, he would likely see it as one of the most direct ways to access the unconscious through the body. Breathwork uses intentional rhythmic breathing to bypass the thinking mind and release stored emotional energy. Breath is both automatic and controllable, a bridge between the conscious and unconscious. When you breathe intentionally, especially in connected patterns, you signal safety to your nervous system. And when safety is present, release becomes possible. Buried emotions surface. Old memories arise. Some people cry. Some laugh. Some tremble. Others experience clarity they've never felt before. This isn't emotional purging, it's psychological integration. Addiction numbs. Breathwork reveals. Even one session can show you that what you were craving wasn't a substance, it was yourself. Tool 3. Symbolic Ritual. A conversation with the soul. Jung believed the soul communicates through images. That's why symbols, dreams, and rituals hold power. They bypass logic and speak directly to the unconscious. When addiction takes hold, it's often because the inner world has been ignored. Ritual helps reopen that dialogue, not empty ceremony, intentional connection. Here's one you can try. Sit in a quiet space and light a candle. Fire represents purification. Place a mirror in front of you and look into your own eyes. Not to judge, but to witness. Say aloud, I know I've been trying to escape something. I don't fully understand it yet, but I'm here and I'm listening. Write a letter to the part of you that's addicted, not with shame, but with curiosity. Fold it and place it beneath the candle. Let it rest there for 15 minutes while you breathe and stay present. This isn't about fixing yourself. It's about reconnection. Letting your deeper self know it's no longer alone. Now that we've explored the symptoms, faced the shadow, and begun reconnecting, we arrive at transformation. Because healing addiction isn't just about stopping a behavior, it's about becoming more real. It's about answering the call addiction was trying to silence. This is what Jung called individuation, the process of becoming whole, not flawless, not polished, integrated. Most people believe healing means returning to who they were before addiction. Jung would say that version was already fractured. The goal isn't to go back. It's to move through and become who addiction was pointing you toward. Step 1. Build a life that nourishes your soul, not just your calendar. Jung believed many neuroses came from a life not fully lived. The draining job, the numbing relationships, the routine that suppresses expression. Healing doesn't happen in isolation. It happens in environments that reflect truth. Ask yourself, what in my life feeds the addiction and what feeds authenticity? Start small. One honest choice a day, one boundary respected, one creative act. These aren't acts of discipline, they're acts of alignment. Step 2. Let meaning replace stimulation. Addiction thrives in lives that are overstimulated and underconnected. We scroll instead of speak, binge instead of reflect, consume instead of create. So instead of asking, how do I stop? Ask, what is this craving asking for emotionally or spiritually? Replace dopamine loops with meaning loops. Create without judgment. Sit in silence. Read something that challenges you. Spend time with people who hold space. When your true self is welcomed, addiction begins to loosen its grip. Step 3. See relapse as information, not failure. Jung was clear, healing is not linear. The psyche moves in spirals. Patterns repeat until they're fully integrated. Relapse isn't shame, it's feedback. A message saying, look deeper. You're not starting over. You're entering another layer, this time with awareness, language, compassion, and tools. The real transformation is when addiction becomes the reason you found yourself. When what once trapped you becomes the doorway to freedom. That's individuation, not self-improvement, reclamation, reuniting the shadow, the child, the creator, the seeker into one coherent life. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is it. If this spoke to you even quietly, comment below, I'm coming home, and subscribe to Fractal Wisdom for more explorations that go beneath the surface, straight to the soul. You are not broken, you are becoming. Your real self is waiting.